Hello there. It's Valentine's Day. What are you doing on YouTube? Go spend the day with your loved ones. Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel Bad Book Thief. Asha here. I am back with yet another video and I am so glad to have you back with me. To begin with, a very happy Valentine's Day to you and your loved ones. I hope you make the most of this day. It's Valentine's Day and I am going to talk about some of the best romance novels you should be reading on Valentine's Day. Getting on with the video, firstly, let me request you to please subscribe to my channel. You can also hit on the bell icon. I'm sure that most of you have grand plans for the day. As a person, I really don't believe in Valentine's Day. I just feel love is for any particular day of the year. It's not restricted to Valentine's alone. But I know that a lot of us are excited about this day. Some of us even wait the whole year. And especially as book lovers, I'm sure that most of us are already digging the internet for some of the best romance novels to read. So let me make it easier for you. If you are wondering what to gift that book nerd in your life, this video might just be helpful. As a reader, I am not somebody who is particularly inclined toward the romance genre. But I think in the past few years, I have been fortunate enough to stumble across some of the best romantic works from different authors. I already have all of these paperbacks with me to flaunt, to show off my copies, and I just hope that you get so intrigued that you order your copies right away. I have already shared the links for all of these books in the description box below, so you can order your copies right away. Let me just quickly show you what these titles are. Here you go. So these are titles from authors who I have loved over the years, and these are some of their best works. Those subtle kind of loves, those transforming kind of loves that have remained incomplete, unrequited. I think there is something there. They feel more real to me than those fairy tale loves where the boy meets the girl and they fall in love and everything works out and it's just a fairy tale ending. There are those other kind of love stories where, the stories are subtle, the characters are so strong, the love is so powerful, but it is not, shouting out loud from the pages of the book. You don't have all those other elements of a common romance novel dripping from the pages. But I know that, there are readers who love those kind of books, so no offense meant. It's just me, who is that kind of reader. And the kind of books I love in romance is where you get to learn something from the characters. You delve deep inside their lives and understand many other facets of their life than just the love side of it. I would like to admit that there was a time when I read a lot of Nicholas Sparks' books. Eventually what happened was I felt all of his books were following the same pattern, and I think apart from The Notebook and A Walk to Remember and perhaps Dear John, all of the other books started to feel the same and I just grew out of them. I think it happened because there was nothing different for me there. All of the books felt the same to me and I just gave it up. And it kind of continues to be that way with the romance genre for me. But these books have been different. They've left me with a different feeling and it always feels incomplete if I do not go back to these books every now and then to experience that subtle, surreal, sublime love, that bittersweet feeling, that tingling of a cute romance, underlying romance that is not shouting in your face, but it's there and it's making you feel warm as you proceed through the pages. Let me quickly get started because I know that by now you also are equally intrigued. The first book that I have on the list is Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Bulgakov is one of my all-time favorite authors. This is the story of Satan and his retinue and how they come to Earth and they get in touch with this author who has written about Pontius Pilate and Jesus. And there is Margarita, who is the master's lover. The master here is the author who is the protagonist of the book. It's this very different kind of a romance that exists between Master and Margarita, and the extent to which Margarita goes, the extent to which she makes sacrifices to gain what she wanted to gain for Master from Satan. So this is a beautifully done, cleverly done story from the point of view of Satan and his retinue. It also happens to be very dark, but very comic in nature, and something that leaves a very deep impact. The next book is one everybody knows about, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Through the main characters Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, Jane Austen has weaved a story that continues to be a favorite. At the start, I didn't like it so much. I felt Mr. Darcy was quite arrogant, and Elizabeth was quite a difficult person. But I think after half the book is through, and when Mr. Darcy starts to change for Elizabeth, and when he starts to have real emotions for her, is when the meaning of the book changed for me. The extent to which you would go to make the love of your life, the person who is so special for you, to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel homely, and to have them finally accept you, is something worth mentioning here. I am not talking at length about any of these books because that's not the purpose. It's not a review. I am just giving you a glimpse of what these books are. For the reviews, you'll really have to go to my blog, which is www.badbookthief.com. So the next book on the list is Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier. I absolutely love Daphne du Maurier, and I cannot say that enough. I have read each and every one of her books, right from her first book, which was A Loving Spirit, to whether that was My Cousin Rachel, whether that was Rebecca, whether it is her short stories, whether it is Frenchman's Creek, all of them, period. We have Lady Donna, who resembles the author in a lot many ways. She lives in upstate London somewhere, and she is bored of her normal life, her husband, her kids, and she seeks an escape, and she goes to the countryside, basically her husband's estate, which is Navarone. Over there, she comes upon this pirate who everybody is searching for because he has been creating some havoc there. So initially, she has only heard about him in passing, but one fine evening, she comes across him, and the first time she meets him, something sparks, and she knows he is the adventure, he is the escape she was looking for. What builds thereon is a very sweet story between Lady Donna and this pirate, who is just as charming, just as cultured, as artistic as a person can be. So he is everything Lady Donna is looking for. What happens eventually in this novel is quite heartbreaking. I wouldn't have wanted this novel to end that way, but that's where reality kind of walks in, and we are surprised at the ending. This is a warm tale, a tale of freedom, a tale of love, a tale of finding somebody who would accept you the way you are. And then I have my favorite poet of all time, Charles Bukowski, and this book is on love. As direct as that sounds, this truly is about love, but more than love, it's about lust, it's about sexual relationships, it's about women, it's about motherly, daughterly love. Basically, it's about the different phases of love. Every time there's a different person in front of you, the definition of love changes, and that's what this book is about. I love this poet. He is my guru when it comes to poetry. The way he writes is, I think, not just intense, it tugs at your heart, and it is so real and raw, and it is crude, and it is vulgar, and it is everything writing should be, just the way you feel about things. He spares nothing when he writes. He writes emotions just the way they ought to be expressed. That is something I love about this poet. So this is a cute little book. As you can see, this is very few pages, and this is really a collection of his poetry, the best of his poetry. Let me just show it to you. So it's a collection of the best of his poetry with some lovely illustrations in there, and that's what it is. So that's On Love by Charles Bukowski. Read this book if you haven't explored this poet, this author before. You will be surprised with what you find here. If he does not tug at your heart, if his words don't fill that void in your heart, you tell me about it. And when we talk about love, it's not possible to not talk about Mr. Marquez. The next book that I have for you is Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Love in the Time of Cholera. This is a splendidly done novel that I think stands the test of time. This was written many years ago, but it stands true, it stands relatable even today. So with this book, Marquez did waver from his standard trademark genre, which was magical realism. But what he's explored here is commendable nonetheless. We have Florentino Ariza, who falls in love with Carmina Daza, and what happens eventually is a long period of almost 50 years before the two are going to be united. Now, I felt that was something which makes you stop and think, how can you love somebody for 5 bloody decades? Florentino waits for Carmina because he was not right for her. Carmina's father gets her married to a more cultured man in the society, a doctor, and she's lived her life with him, but she was never in love with him. Florentino, however, goes away. He comes back after many years, and eventually they meet again, and what happens next is as beautiful as Walking on Clouds. This is one of the sweetest romance novels ever. Read this to experience the magic of pure, blissful writing rich with emotions. That's Marquez for you. Read it for the characters. If you don't fall in love with Florentino, you tell me about it. So all of those breezy romances and all of those, hidden kisses and secrets and sex and lust and successful marriages, all of those things that you see in movies and you see, or rather you read in other books, all of that is fine. But a love like that, where you hold on to that feeling, to that emotion of wanting to be with someone eventually, that is something. So that is Love in the Time of Cholera for you. What I want to mention next is again one author who is a favorite. I have already reviewed many books from him on my channel. This is Ruskin. It's a collection of short stories from all those times when he has experienced love in different forms with different people. And these are not really just the sexual or sensual kind of love. These are those cute little loves you feel upon hearing the voice of somebody because their voice is so sweet. These are those kind of loves. These are the cutest kind of loves possible. And in this collection, Ruskin has explored all of those personal stories, and he talks about them in a very fond, in a very admirable, in a very adorable type. The writing is great, of course, you can never go wrong with a Bond book, but I think you should read it for the lovely, poignant feeling of love. And the final book that I have in this list for you is Buthering Heights. This is still a love story. Their love is one of a kind, and it's Valentine's Day, and I think we should celebrate all kinds of loves. So Wuthering Heights is a definite recommendation. Alright guys, those are all the books I wanted to talk about today in this Valentine's special edition. Like I said, I have read these books, and at different points in time I have loved these books. Yes, in the beginning some of them didn't go down well with me, but I did not give up on them. These are books after all, and they demand love. So I went back to them after a few years, and I found myself connecting with those books. I have shared the links for all of these books in the description box below, so you can get your copies from there. For the detailed reviews of these books, you can visit my blog, which is www.badbookthief.com. In case you want to discuss about any of these books, go ahead. So that's not all. You can tell me about your Valentine's Day plans. I do not have any grand plans. I think I'm just going to sit and enjoy myself with one of these books. I hope you enjoy this video just as much as I enjoyed filming it. I'm going to meet you in my next video. Until then, Be reading, be inspiring. Goodbye.